We want to see everyone happy, but they do not know how to become happy. Therefore, we are trying to spread this Krishna consciousness movement that everyone will be happy.
Shri Nandan Nandana Avaye Charanara Vindure.
Realization means you should write. Every one of you. What is your realization? What for this back to Godhead is? You write your realization. What you have realized about Krishna. That is required. It is not passive. Always you should be active. Whenever you find time, write. Never mind. 2 lines, 4 lines, but you write your realization. Savanam Kirtanam, writing or offering prayers, glories. This is one of the functions of the Vaishnava. You are hearing, but you have to write also. Then write means smaranam, remembering what you have heard from your spiritual master, from the scripture. Savanam Kirtanam Vishnu, about Vishnu, not for others. Don't write any nonsense thing for any nonsense man. Useless, waste of time. Vishnu, write about Vishnu, Krishna. This is cultivation of Krishna consciousness. Hear, write, remember, try to understand. Don't be dull-headed, very intelligent. Without being very intelligent, nobody can have full Krishna consciousness. It is for the most intelligent man. So that intelligence will come if you try to understand Krishna.
Vedana Jovanna Putra Vedana Jovanna Putra Vedana Vijay Acha Parati Tire Acha Parati Tire Kamala Jala Dala Jivana Tala Mala Kamala Jala Dala Jivana Tala Mala Vihara Nika Pada Tapasa Vata Vadisana Vidaya Tapasa Vata Vadisana Anina Janini Jalide Adini Janini
Bhaktivedanta Spiritual realization is acting as a spirit soul, But to come on that platform, it's described in Bhagavad Gita, in the scriptures, that we have to develop spiritual qualities. That in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is asking a few times the question, what are the qualities of a transcendentalist? And then Krishna lists so many qualities. Also in the 12th chapter, there are all these qualities endearing to Krishna. And the first, non-enviousness. And then in the 16th chapter, we have the divine qualities. So that's realization. These are symptoms of realization, but there are also tests. Like one of the tests is one should not be sexually inclined, that sexual desire must go. That's an important test. Also there are tests in the Bhagavatam on to test to what level you are non-envious, like in 834 in the Bhagavatam. I think it's Narada Muni instructing Dhruva Maharaj. It says if you meet a person who is more advanced than you, one should be happy to receive this person, and one meets a person who is on the equal level, then one makes friendship with that person. But when one meets a person who is less qualified, one tries to elevate that person. So these are all tests described in the scriptures. Personally, I have not much personal realizations. I'm still trying to become a devotee of Krishna. It's not so cheap to become a devotee of Krishna. But there are certain realizations that I can share, that through the years, although I'm trying to be fixed up in my sadhana, and to be able to do that is in itself a realization, because it's not so easy to be fixed up in sadhana. But generally, I feel what's the effect on the heart, on the mind. I realize that spiritual experience is not an experience in the mind. It's not. It's an experience of the heart. And I must say that I lost interest to become anything in this world. I know you get older, and together with the spiritual practice, I know I've only a few years left, and that's just reality. What am I going to do with my life? I'm preaching every day Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, and it's slowly you start to think in these terms of the scriptures, and it made me to a certain extent equal in happiness and distress, and more easy to tolerate, more easy to let go attachments, and that to the extent that from all these gross attachments I had, most are gone, but there is the subtle battle now, the subtle attachment and aversion, but surely it's by Krishna's mercy we hope to further advance in devotional service, and one day come to the platform of always thinking in love of Krishna. But whatever Krishna's plan is, my desire is to continue to serve Srila Prabhupada, and that is my focus. That's what I could say. Spiritual realization is realized knowledge giving by Krishna to the heart. Krishna says, Tesham satayuknam bhajtam pritbhuvkam dadami buddhiyogam yena mamopyantite. If one tries to serving with love, what is in essence is pleasing the spiritual master. Then dadami, Krishna gives Buddhi Yoga. But Buddhi Yoga is not just transcendental knowledge, it's realized transcendental knowledge. It gives from within the heart. From within the heart, Krishna gives. So it's a realization to the heart. It's not a feeling in the mind. Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is not an artificial imposition of the mind. It's Krishna revealing that. And that revelation comes in us. Tesham evanakampatam amajana chamtama nasachamatma bhavastuganitipana. That Krishna enters the heart and removes our ignorance and gives us realizations in the form one understands the futility of material life. There's no need to become anything. All these relationships, also in ISKCON, all what one wants to become, just forget about it. Just try to realize who you are and serve Krishna. And that's realization. And that's given by Krishna from within the heart. It's not a mental concoction. It is real, that feeling of detachment that Krishna gives you. And we should always be aware of that. It's by Krishna's mercy we make spiritual advancement, not by our own endeavor. Endeavor should be there following sadhana, but finally it's Krishna's mercy. And to get Krishna's mercy, engage in Srila Prabhupada's mission, surrender into it, and preach, give Krishna consciousness away. And you get it. You get it because Krishna reveals when he's pleased. But it's all by the mercy of Prabhupada that we can do that we have the chance to engage in this mission. And I feel in whatever small realization I have, it's just the mercy of Prabhupada, nothing else. My consciousness, when I started nearly 30 years ago, it's 27 years ago, but 30 years is a little exaggerated, but my consciousness then is different from my consciousness 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It's different. Surely you get more and more realizations, or your realizations are deepening. By my experience, that shows that Krishna consciousness is a process. And once you are in the process, then and you continue act on the liberated platform, means acting just for the pleasure of Prabhupada and Lord Krishna, then gradually you become purified. And so we have hope that one day our heart will be purified, and then we can start developing love for Krishna. And that's what we are all longing for, but we cannot force it. It's Krishna who gives. And we have just to be patient and try our best. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Vishnu Bhakti Pratideva Satyavati Namo
Spiritual realization, well, first we have to have knowledge. We have to know what we're doing, and that knowledge is called jnana. So this is why we study in the books. And then when we actually put the books into practice, then we see that it actually produces some result. It's not just a speculative thing, or it's not just knowledge, it actually becomes realized, or vijnana. And so that strengthens our Krishna consciousness. Because knowledge, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita, is not just book knowledge, but it's realized knowledge. So first thing is to study, and then we can actually apply that to our everyday activity, and automatically we see the Shastra working in our lives. And so, you know, it's different for different people. But when we see that, we become encouraged to, you know, push further on with this particular process. That it's not just an imagination. Well, the same thing applies. There's Shastra, there's the different sadhus, different devotees, and there's also the Acharya, or the spiritual master. So we can take advantage of all these, we can cross-reference all these different the devotees in the books, and then we can understand what we're experiencing maybe in our consciousness, whether it's actually factual or it's just a speculation. And as we become more experienced in devotional service, we can start to feel, whether we're making progress from within. This is the help of the Super Soul. So sometimes we may feel some inspiration to do something, or some realization, and we're not sure whether it's actually what we should do. Then we can get external help from the spiritual master and the books, and of course other devotees. So yeah, there's no reason we should be doubtful. We've always got, help. Krishna is reciprocating with everybody according to their desire. Most people don't know that. 99% of people don't know that. They think it's coming by, some law of karma, or some, good fortune. But everything's coming by the will of the Supreme. He's, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme. And so when we follow the process, same as I said about Vigyan, then the realizations will come in Krishna consciousness, and we'll realize that there's factors beyond which we understood before. We can realize that God's a person and that He's reciprocating with us. This becomes, beyond doubt. Many devotees can give, these particular examples in their life. So, if we follow the process, then we'll see Krishna working in our lives. Chanting Hare Krishna. If we chant nicely, then everything's very nice. To the degree we chant the Maha Mantra with attention, then devotional service is enjoyable. If we don't, then we become influenced by material energy, and then we find that things are not so easy. We have to take shelter of Krishna, and He's given us the perfect formula. Anybody can do it. So to the degree we're serious about taking shelter in that way, chanting, then to that degree, we'll be in good consciousness. Relationship with God brothers, by serving in their association, gradually we develop an appreciation for their service and not just our own. And as we become more experienced in devotional service, we start to, reciprocate, help one another more, and become more humble. Start to see our own faults, and that's the old problem, is if everybody can see their own faults, then relationships are not a problem. If we don't see our own faults, relationships are a big problem. So basically, serve together. And obviously, first instruction of the Bhagavad Gita is that we have to tolerate. We have to tolerate others' shortcomings because we have shortcomings. We want people to tolerate our shortcomings, but we don't want to tolerate other people's. We want people to forgive us, but we don't want to forgive others, maybe. So we have to, Jesus Christ says, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. No, I tried. I couldn't keep it up. It's good if you can. Every so often make a note and check where you're at. If we listen to tapes, if we listen to the philosophy, that's a good sign, because the same points keep being brought up, and it keeps reminding us of how to where we are, what we need to do and how to go forward. So, if we just hear this philosophy regularly, then we'll actually understand where we are in devotional service and what we need to do. Yeah, well, in the beginning of devotional service, it's in the Madhurya Kadambini. So Utsamaya means very enthusiastic, but on the wrong platform. It's like false enthusiasm. Because Krishna's reciprocating, we get a lot of enthusiasm. And but then that enthusiasm has to become grounded in the, it has to be a constant enthusiasm, not just the initial enthusiasm from something new and some new realization. So that takes, intelligence. And intelligence means that we have to understand the philosophy, and we carry on performing the process through all difficulties because we have intelligence based on Shastra. So that's real enthusiasm. We don't see a result immediately. The result's taking place over a longer period. I know I was distributing books in Manchester door to door, and then after a long time, maybe 10 years, 15 years, I went back to one I think it was a Jagannath Rath Yatra festival, and one new devotee was looking at me, and I was thinking, what's he looking at? And after a while he came over and he said, do you remember me? I says, I'm sorry, I can't place your face. He said, you came to our door 15 years ago or something like that, and gave us a book, and I read it last year. And he became a devotee. So, we have to have vision when we're doing books. We have to see that, the result is that somebody's going to take advantage of these books, and they may be the future acharya of this movement. Obviously, Prabhupada is the founder acharya, but we are actually trying to get somebody started who is much more elevated than we are. So that's one realization I got. And the other one is behavior. I was going door to door, and I knocked on one door, and he came to the door and said, what do you want? And so I told him what I was doing. He more or less told me to go away in so many words and shut the door. And so I was walking down the path, and I closed the gate behind me, and I went to the next door. Nobody in, so then I come out, and he was waiting for me at the gate. Oh, what's going to happen now? And then his face softened. So, thank you for shutting my gate. So, what we do, people notice. If we do the right things, we're preaching all the time, even if we don't distribute a book. So, I can't remember anymore just offhand, but yeah, also when we're distributing books, we shouldn't be shy to approach anybody. Sometimes we think, I was once doing books, and I was having a difficult time, nobody would stop. And I looked round and I saw this old gentleman with tattered clothes and a flat hat and a bicycle clips on and an old bike looking at me, and I thought, no, he'll never take a book. Probably don't have enough money anyway. So I carried on trying to distribute. And nobody stopping. Then I looked across this old gentleman, and I was thinking, no, he'll never take a book. So I carried on again. And then I thought, well, nobody's stopping, maybe we'll take a book. And I went up to him and I explained the philosophy, and he was listening very intently. He never said a word. He said, I'll have two, Krishna book 1 and Krishna book 2. And he gave a big donation. So, we shouldn't miss out anybody. Everybody's capable of taking his books. Japa's a yagya. We have to apply ourselves every day. It doesn't matter whether we're chanting good rounds or whether we think we're chanting good rounds or whether we think we're chanting bad rounds. The barometer is that we're endeavouring to hear the holy name nicely and chant the holy name nicely. If we hear nicely, we can chant nicely.
Spiritual realizations come by the mercy of the Lord. When one has an understanding of the philosophy and one engages in practical devotional service, that understanding becomes realized through the service. So we understand I'm not this body. So we hear about it, but then when we engage in devotional service, we also get realizations at different times, and we can experience, yes, I'm not this body. So that is called Vigyan, taking knowledge to the point of realization. You can't imagination is something created by the mind, and therefore it may not have any real benefit at all. Realizations inspire one to surrender more and to engage in devotional service. So when you get a realization and you get some inspiration through that realization, your mood is, I want to do more, or I want to do better whatever I'm doing. Well, we always realize that Krishna is very merciful through chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So when devotees come together and enthusiastically chant and dance for the pleasure of the Lord, it's the most wonderful experience you can imagine. You can't imagine it, it's beyond imagination, but when you experience it, you think, I don't need anything else. So when our realizations of kirtan, the holy name, become so powerful that it increases our enthusiasm for devotional service. One thing that was outstanding in my understanding of Prabhupada was how he was sure, fixed on everything he said. He didn't speak from theory, he spoke from knowledge, he spoke from realization. When he said something, he also understood that this was the truth. It wasn't sometimes when we speak, or if someone speaks, they speak nice words, but they don't actually understand the depth of what the words mean. But Prabhupada had realizations of what he was saying, and therefore, through that conviction, along with his realizations, it went to the heart of whoever was listening. It made a difference.
Krishna Spiritual realization is always confirmed by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Therefore, we need to be reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and in that way we can judge. And of course, we have our spiritual master and the association of the saintly Vaishnavas. We shouldn't race off into sentimental directions. We should always seek authorization. That is the way of a genuine Vaishnava. He or she always is seeking confirmation and authorization of any feelings. And of course, bhakti is about feelings, but it's the deepest science of feelings. And we should be patient and not become swept away by immature emotions. I like to give the example of 6-year-old boys and girls playing with each other, saying, "Oh, he likes you. Oh, she likes you. Guess who likes you?" And no adults take it seriously. They know this is child's play. Similarly, we may have some preliminary sentiments. "Oh, I like Jagannath better than Gaur-Nitai," or "I like this avatar better than that one." And yes, those sentiments may be there in the beginning, but we shouldn't take them so seriously. We should wait till our natural spiritual inclinations develop as confirmed by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. We always need guidance at every step of our spiritual life. Bhakti is all about guidance. Without guidance, we can easily become deluded and confused, controlled by our pride, our lust, our anger. Therefore, the more you have guidance in your life, the more wealthy you are in bhakti. The wealth in bhakti is all about guidance and association. Attending this festival helps me to see the glories of all the other devotees. Each one is so unique and special and has such wonderful potential for offering to Krishna. So this festival helped me to see that, how every devotee has such extraordinary value. Some have realized their potential more than others, but still every devotee has such extraordinary potential in Krishna's service. Srila Prabhupada was not from this world, and therefore his instructions can transport you out of this world. So we are all his humble servants, whether disciples or grand disciples. We're all the humble servants of Srila Prabhupada, who was most definitely not of the material world. Krishna sent his personal representative for us.
seen the building we had purchased in a very auspicious place in Boston in 1974. And when he looked at the picture, he said, yes, I want to go there next year. And the following year, he had an itinerary which included Boston as a visit. And I was the brahmachari in the Boston temple at that time. I know I was also requested to come back from book distribution in order to prepare Srila Prabhupada's quarters for him for his visit. Because prior to coming to Krishna consciousness, I was a carpenter by profession. And the temple president knew about my abilities, and therefore he asked me to fix up his quarters for him. And the building was a very beautiful building and had a lot of potential. And I tried my best, and over a course of several months, to bring out that potential of beauty to welcome Srila Prabhupada for his visit. And I spent several months just working very, very hard, morning to night, and reconstructing those rooms for Prabhupada. And also at that time, my godbrother Ambarish Prabhu was in Boston, and he also gave a donation to build a new altar for the deities for Prabhupada's arrival as well. So I also participated in that, in reconstructing the altar to a limited degree. However, later that year, in 1975, Srila Prabhupada was on his tour with Boston as part of his itinerary. And you can imagine how eager we were to receive him, because he hadn't been in Boston for several years and he hadn't seen our new temple. We were very eager for him to come. And then just before he was to come to Boston, he received a telegram from India stating that Indira Gandhi was ready to meet Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada was very eager to meet with her to discuss some topics about bringing the devotees to India and giving them permanent residency there. So just before coming to Boston, which was his next stop, Prabhupada decided to go directly to India for the meeting with Indira Gandhi. Well, you can imagine how I felt, and as well as many of the devotees who have been working for months and months preparing that building for Prabhupada's visit, to see that building which he said he really wanted to see. Personally, I was crestfallen. I was thinking, surely if Prabhupada comes, temple president will tell him about the rooms I prepared for him. We even built some furniture for Prabhupada also. But Prabhupada didn't come in 75, and he didn't come in 76. And he didn't come in 77 either. And the fact of the matter is, Prabhupada never saw that building physically. But I learned something that Srila Prabhupada taught me from that experience. That to make an offering to the pure devotee, the consciousness is the real necessary ingredient of the offering. And I was thinking that by external point of view, we may think that I never was able to make this offering to Prabhupada. But from the internal point of view, in the way that Srila Prabhupada taught me and taught everyone else in the Krishna consciousness movement, the way to make the offering is in the meditation on the pleasure of the person to whom we are offering. And I took solace in that. And actually, by taking solace in that, I understood what Srila Prabhupada actually came to teach me. And not just teach me, but to teach everyone else. That the offering, best offering made, is that offering which is done with meditation on the person to whom we are offering. In the same way, Srila Prabhupada taught us that by offering to him, that was the best way to get Krishna's attention. And that Srila Prabhupada taught all of us by his perfect example. How to continue in that state of consciousness of meditating on his pleasure and ultimately Krishna's pleasure is a science that he taught by his example. And in this way, this event that we have every year is a very wonderful opportunity to meditate on Srila Prabhupada, especially by welcoming those who always keep Prabhupada in their hearts. It gives me the opportunity to serve Prabhupada by serving them. It helps me to meditate on Prabhupada because Prabhupada is in their hearts. And when I can serve them, it actually brings Prabhupada closer to me. Prabhupada taught that type of meditation in the way that I described, at least with me, that one experience. But he taught all of us also that same meditation when he departed. That's another lesson and instruction he gave also. That if we want to welcome Srila Prabhupada, the best way to welcome him is by meditating on his pleasure. Any offering made in that consciousness will actually bear fruit of success. And in this way, we can welcome Srila Prabhupada today to our event. Because he'll be here to the degree that we welcome him in our hearts. And understand that the gratitude that we experience is the gratitude for what he's given to us in this festival. What he's given us in our day-to-day lives. He's given us sadhu sangha, association with wonderful Vaishnavas. That by serving them, I get to serve Prabhupada. My God brothers and God sisters, I definitely see Prabhupada is there in our hearts, and meditating on his pleasure. And I'm sure all of you see in a similar way as I see. And if you don't, this little talk is an effort to help remind us that Srila Prabhupada is here with us to the degree that we welcome him in our hearts. If we can receive him in that mood of gratitude today, as the first person that we wish to welcome, I'm sure this will be a successful festival. He will be very pleased and he will smile upon us, as I personally saw him smile when chanting and dancing in his presence. That smile was the success of life. And if we can invoke his smile by welcoming him here today, I would be very grateful for that, and I'm sure all my God brothers and God sisters would be grateful as well. So let us please welcome Srila Prabhupada to our 2017 Bhakti Sangama Festival. Srila Prabhupada ki! Srila Prabhupada ki! Srila Prabhupada ki! Srila Prabhupada ki!
Spiritual realization, first of all, we have to understand that we're not this body, and that we're the soul, and the nature of that soul is to serve Krishna. And the more we advance in spiritual life, the more that becomes a very part of our life. It's like it becomes a natural part of our life. Whereas emotion is just something that's passing. Just like I've met so many people in India. Swamiji, your class about the animals I brought tears to my eyes, but I can't give up my chicken, Swamiji. It's just emotion. They have some emotion, but they have when it becomes a part of your practical life, then that's when the realization is setting in. Some emotion has to be there, because bhakti actually means, bhav means emotion. But we have to make it a part of our very being, that it's not something that's just, temporary manifestation of bhav, but we want to make it sthayi bhav, it's fixed. That takes practice. It doesn't come automatically. I always tell devotees we're in the internet age and we're lazy. We just want to click on on the link, and automatically everything comes, but you have to work. Internet age has made us lazy. We just want to cling. I'm self-realized, cling. I have determination, cling. I have Guru Nistha, cling. Lust is gone from my heart. Nope. Like Banu Maharaj said today, you have to practice. All I can say is I never saw anybody like Prabhupada on this planet. And I've seen many great spiritual masters, even Gaudiya saints, but still, something was there about Prabhupada that was different than everybody else. I've seen so many people in India, they're just interested in their prestige. They want to see, how many people come to their lecture and how much dakshina they're getting on their foot at the end of the lecture. But Prabhupada was just giving Krishna consciousness and just giving it as it is, not trying to water it down and just attract cheap followers. He wanted people to really practice Krishna consciousness. And he was the most amazing person I ever met in my life. One time the GBC, they told Prabhupada we shouldn't have this festival every year because it costs so much money. Plane tickets must be, over $1 million just for devotees to come here. We should use that for something else. And Prabhupada said, then stop eating, that costs a lot of money also. So he put coming to Mayapur and Vrindavan on the level of eating as important. Because again, he wanted us to come, and there's a special Shakti in the holy dhams that enlivens our spiritual batteries to go back out and preach and bring more people to the holy dham next year. Well, Krishna told in Nectar Devotion that that person who says he's my devotee, I don't know who he is. But that person who says he's a devotee of my devotee, he's my devotee. So I saw this whole festival as just to develop this attitude of service. And I'm totally astounded. I'm very grateful to all the Ukrainian devotees for taking so nice care of us. I just hope that whatever service I did in return was equal to the service that they gave us. No, that's natural. But the only way to do that is association devotees. That's why this Sadhu Sangha festival is here, just to, our Bhakti Sangam, it's here just to bring the devotees together, recharge our batteries, and go out for another year of preaching. Only by associating devotees we keep our energy going, our enthusiasm going. Because by ourselves we're very weak. So I very much appreciate this Bhakti Sangam festival, bringing the devotees together to chant the holy name together and revive that desire to advance in Krishna consciousness, because we have to keep it alive. And the only way to keep it alive again is just associating with devotees.
We were very happy to receive him. He is a very learned scholar of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. One thing I think about when I think of Krishna Kshetra Maharaj is I know how many years he just served as a simple, humble brahmachari in our Krishna consciousness movement. He wasn't thinking about designations, he was simply thinking about service. But after so many years as a brahmachari, the devotees were telling him, take sannyas, because he was a sannyas. Externally he was brahmachari. And I remember once he humbly came up to me and asked for my blessings. And I said to Maharaj, I said, Maharaj, to give my blessings for you to take sannyas is a no-brainer for me. We all see that you're sannyas. It was just a matter of just changing your dress, and why not? Anybody else wants it too. So I learned something very wonderful from him also. We should not be so much attached to designations, but we should attach to service. Because the Vaishnavas ordered him to take sannyas. He accepted it as service. Thank you. Please welcome Krishna Kshetra Swami.
I would say it's good to start with Sanskrit terminology. We have two different terms which we're familiar with in our tradition. One is jnana, knowledge, and the other is vijnana, which Srila Prabhupada would sometimes translate as realized knowledge. It's sometimes also translated as wisdom. And it has a general sense of knowledge which one is able to apply in one's life. So one has, it's set in contrast to theoretical knowledge. I may know something theoretically, but to know it in a way that I can apply it, that would be considered vijnana in the tradition. The mind is, of course, a source, an object to be suspect. Devotees learn. We are told that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur suggested a rather harsh way of dealing with the mind, beating the mind morning and evening and so on. And so a certain what might be called healthy suspicion is always good. We do have this framework for for judging provided for us. Narottam Das Thakur speaks of Sadhu Shastra Guru, and he relates these, I think this is important, to the heart. He says, Sadhu Shastra Guru Vakya Hridoye Korya Aikya. May the words of Sadhu Shastra and Guru Vakya become an Aikya, a singularity, a single vision within the heart. So when something comes to our mind, we want to ask ourselves, right, so is this resonating with what I understand from my guru, from my teachers, from my the senior devotees? Do I find this resonating with, or a kind of recognition of what I read in Shastra, or not? And these become like tests. Hopefully more rather than less. Hopefully realization may not be something terribly mystical, but a realization can simply be, how do I better communicate about Krishna consciousness with others? I like to call it finding one's voice. Srila Prabhupada has given us his books, which are Srila Prabhupada's voice for the previous acharyas, and then we find our voice, how to represent his voice. And there's always going to be something unique about it from each of us, at the same time that we are simply carrying what has been given to us. If you don't give it, you lose it. That's the general principle of Krishna consciousness. If we don't pass it on to others, the danger is there that we lose it. And so that's our culture that we've imbibed from Srila Prabhupada and from Lord Chaitanya, that we are a preaching mission, which means we take the knowledge, we pass it on. That makes it, just in that act of bringing to others, attracting others to the knowledge, that makes it into vijnana. It simultaneously preserves it for us, and it transforms and becomes, you can say, fully digested. Personal realizations. Just from time to time, speaking on this point about finding voice, I've found, in a sense, in my own writing, Srila Prabhupada encouraged devotees to write, and not so many devotees are aware of this. But because we feel, oh, what do I know? What have I realized? One thing I've realized, that through the process of writing, realization comes out. And this I found very helpful for myself, and I think it's also of interest for others. I had not so much. I met Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, altogether over about 12 or 15 days. Over 5 years, we saw him once a year in the summer when he would come to Europe. And but I read recently that Srila Prabhupada also had altogether maybe 15 days of association with his spiritual master, Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Not that I can make any comparison there. My main realization, aside from how amazing Srila Prabhupada is, and so many devotees speak about that, is a message which he gave, it seemed like every time I saw him, which is, time is short. You have to take Krishna consciousness seriously, because he said like this in one lecture, when the day of my initiation. He said, we have to learn to fly our own airplane, just like a flight trainer will accompany his student in the airplane, but at one point the student has to fly, we say in English, fly solo. So each of us at the end of life, we have to fly solo. And now we're getting the training. We have to do it with all seriousness. And I appreciated that message from Prabhupada, and I always felt, yes, no time to waste.
All the devotees in ISKCON, they are all pure, more or less. Just some covering their contamination. So when this contamination over, be cleared off by devotional service, everybody will become pure. This is Vaishnava. He doesn't want to go back to God on his own first. Some Vaishnava have this tendency. They are Viviktanandi or Bhajananandi. But we are Kostanandi. That means we should be associated with the devotees and go together. There is a wonderful occasion where so many devotees get together here. So, Bhaktivedanta Swami says Sammagamana, that means developing attachment. How to increase our attachment to Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's beauty, Krishna's pastime, Krishna's dham, Krishna's devotee, service to Krishna, service to Krishna devotee. As Krishna says, the devotee's symptom is pure devotee. In short, in saying that there is they are called 6 verses of Bhagavad Gita. And there he is saying, Matchitta Madgata Prana Bodhanta Parasparam Kathantascha Mam Nittam Tushanti Cha Ramanti Cha. And also it is saying, Bhakti means Bhaktistu Bhagavad Bhakta Sangena Parijayate. Bhakti means you have to associate with the devotees.
My name is Arjuna Krishna Das. I'm from Dnepropetrovsk, but last 5 years I live in Vrindavan, India, city of 5,000 temples. There we sing and dance from morning till evening. Sometimes we have breaks to eat and get together. Also we travel all over the world with Harinamas and Sankirtana. Just now we have finished our European tour and came to this festival to share our experience, see new faces, get acquainted, in some way to evolve, to find out something new. Today I had a realization during Kirtan. I understood for myself that I want to do it all my life. It's something that I want to give my life to, because for me Krishna consciousness is Kirtan. It's not just eat and have nice time. For me, Krishna consciousness is chanting the holy name, because during Kirtan you can feel yourself as a soul, and the more you sing, you need more hours. Sometimes when we get together in the temple and sing for an hour or two during Sunday program, it's good, but it's enough only to keep you alive and not to die. But in order to evolve, one needs 5 hours per day. That's my realization. You ask about my realization. 5 hours per day of Kirtan, then the soul feels itself more or less normal. Harinama is something for everyone. Kirtan is something devotees do. Actually, it's like Shiva Sangam, you know, when Lord Chaitanya gathered his associates and they in a way pumped up their heart chakra, and when it was full they just went out to the streets and distributed it. There is its own taste in each. In Kirtan you get charged, and during Harinama you also get charged, but also you charge everyone else. So it's in a way more large scale. Ayendra Prabhu said that the Kirtan is compared to a small rasa dance, but Harinama is like a Maharasa, all moods are included in it. And just like that, we know there are many other festivals, but we know that Bhakti Sangama is the biggest festival, Vaishnava festival, that exists on this earth. One can go travel to one festival with a couple of thousands or 300 devotees and experience its specific taste, but when 7,000, 10,000 devotees get together, it's impossible to describe. It's the same with Harinamas. That is why Harinam is very important. It's important to have both, not only one. There is truth and devotees feel balanced. There isn't lack of variety. Devotee feels that Harinam is alive, it's a personality. It's not something ephemeris, it's something that our spiritual masters teach about. They tell us we need to develop relations, but how will you develop relations if you don't serve? Service means I want to do something. I want to do something for Harinam, and what Harinam Prabhu wants, he wants all the planet and living entities to chant him. That's what service is.
In spiritual culture, it is not the duty of the wife that she earns an income. See, in materialistic culture, the criteria is always who is best at what. There the question is, well, who is better at earning money? And all right, if the wife is better than the husband, then let her do it. It's the materialistic view of things. But in spiritual culture, the criteria is whose purifying duty is it? So that's a completely different approach. And Krishna even says in Bhagavad Gita, better to do your own purifying duty imperfectly rather than somebody else's duty perfectly. You know, in spiritual culture, the criteria is whose purifying duty is it? Realization is actually a revelation from within the heart. Krishna gives the realization from within the heart, and it comes proportionally to our mood of service. So it's interesting to understand, like in the process of acquiring knowledge, there's like two steps. Step number one is simply to receive this sambandha gyan. Who am I? Who is Krishna? What is my relationship? Through studying the Shastra. But the goal of that study is actually to bring us to the mood of service. And then comes step number two of acquiring knowledge, namely revelations. Receiving these realizations from within the heart, given by Krishna, through our service mood. So these are the two steps to actually gain transcendental knowledge. So through our personal endeavor and studies, we cannot gain realizations. There's so many learned scholars, they can recite so many verses, but they might have zero realization. But then on the other hand, there might be a person who is not very learned, but there is deep realization there. So Krishna reciprocates according to our mood of service, and then he reveals himself and gives insights, and that's realization. A highly important role, obviously, because Krishna reveals himself in certain aspects of devotional life. So without these realizations, our faith cannot grow really. So that's how Krishna reciprocates with a devotee who is sincerely trying to serve him, that he shows himself, yes, I'm here, and that nourishes our faith. And faith is like the currency to purchase Krishna, Bhaktivedanta Thakur says. So even cultivating devotees is all about protecting and nourishing a person's faith in Krishna in the process of devotional service and Prabhupada and Guru. So, and realizations are really helping us to nourish and strengthen that faith until our faith is unflinching. And to that point we can only get when actually Krishna reveals and shows himself. Realizations are happening within the heart. So, and emotions is the platform of the mind. And the main difference we see in the result. So, what it leads to. So, realizations lead to being more committed and surrendered and selfless and dedicated. That's what realization leads to, and also to spiritual strength to uplift others. That's a very important part in uplifting others. If we speak from realization, then there is some spiritual strength there, a little bit of Shakti there Krishna is giving. But if it is just emotions, these results will not be there. Then one day we are super enthusiastic, and then the next day we are all lethargic and depressed or something, and there will be no spiritual strength there. So we can see in the effect what the difference is. In the beginning of the year, when I was giving this children's course in Mayapur the first time, that clearly, I mean, that was a major eye-opener for me. Even though people might think, oh, Devaki Mataji doesn't have any children, how can she even talk about children? So my inspiration in even talking about children is first of all my own childhood, because my mother was a very good mother, and she really gave me the foundation to my spiritual practice and that emotional strength and health. And also in Bangladesh I have seen how they put the children in the center. So, but anyway, when I gave that course in Mayapur, that clearly made me understand that if we really understand this importance of bringing children up in deep Krishna consciousness, that puts a whole different level to the Grihastha. Very, very clear. And that this understanding of children being an impediment in spiritual life and a disturbance and distraction, this is such an immature and shallow understanding. So that really was a big eye-opener. And then also in regards to Grihastha Ashram, this is also a relatively recent realization, just to understand that we haven't gotten that far yet in that attempt. And this is why also many devotees think, oh, getting married is again some Maya, because all we know is kind of Griha Medi life, or at least half or 1 foot in Griha Medi life. And well, that is an impediment, but Grihastha Ashram is not. So yeah, these are kind of the recent realizations. But then also having gone through cancer, chemo and so on again after 10 years. So this also gives a lot of realizations. And in regards to that, I'm just again marveling how Krishna arranged everything so perfectly, and that I noticed it all in the very beginning, and yeah, just while I was there in Juhu giving a seminar, I was simply thinking, yeah, let me do a little routine checkup. So if I had not given that seminar, I would have not done this routine checkup. So yeah, it was this Krishna really, yeah, I mean, and then even where to do this chemotherapy, that I ended up in Bangalore and received really the best care and everything. Yeah, I mean, how can you not believe that Krishna is there in our lives and really personally arranging things, you know, so that very much strengthens our faith when we have such experiences, you know. Definitely by sharing them, that deepens them and keeps them alive, and also, yeah, it deepens them. So the more we share them, not in the mood of wanting to show off or something what great realizations we have, but in the mood of serving others and inspiring others, that definitely in general keeps spiritual knowledge alive, and realizations are just a very important part of spiritual knowledge, if not the main part really is the realization. So the more we engage in preaching and sharing on all different levels, it doesn't have to be big classes or something, but simply sharing even one-to-one and so on, that definitely deepens them and keeps them alive, definitely. Well, there's always newer and newer realizations coming. Krishna reveals. As we sincerely practice, Krishna reveals. And there is no limit to it. It's unlimited. It's ever increasing. So Otherwise we become stagnant. Yeah, so definitely, yeah, I mean, they change completely. Just deepen and broaden, and more insights, and more things are opening up and becoming more clear and so on. So it's not even like some big explosions or something. This is again maybe more emotional or something. Like when we first come to Krishna consciousness, there's so many more impurities there and we are more on the emotional platform or something. But then as we are continuing to practice, yeah, it's just more eye-opening and convincing and yeah, deepening realizations come like that. And there's no limit to it, really. We can never say, so now I've realized everything or something. and the more we get insights how it is ever increasing, the more we realize we are just at the very beginning here, and whatever little we realize is just a tiny drop of the ever increasing ocean which is there. So that's also humbling.
Dear devotees and friends of Krishna, my name is Lubomir and I'm videographer from Chisinau, Moldova. Just like anyone who is trying to practice seriously Krishna consciousness, I have a lot of questions. By the grace of Srila Prabhupada and senior devotees, I had a wonderful opportunity to ask these questions our spiritual leaders during Bhakti Sangam Festival 2017 in the Ukraine. There will be a second part with Harinamas and even more insights into the topic of spiritual realizations. If you like this film, I am asking for your support with production of the second part by following this link, where you can make a donation. Thank you in advance. Hare Krishna.